I Gotta Run. This is Will Sanchez. My special guest today is James Buckley. He is one of the founders of Oakwood Soldiers Track Club. What does Harlem Runs, Latinos Run, Run Street, and Queen District runners have in common? They are all movements started by a person that had a vision, a dream. They didn't wait to be discovered. They faced their challenge and they lived their dreams. Will Oakwood Soldiers rise to the ranks of these other clubs? Let's find out. I'm thrilled to have James as a guest.
Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Before we go into the club that you started, Oakwood, let's introduce our audience to you. Tell us where you were born, a little bit about your growing up years.
I was born and raised in Staten Island, New York. I'm 23 years old. My parents were from Brooklyn. My family's pretty much all from Brooklyn. We just kind of migrated to Staten Island a few years before I was born. So they were the ones that established themselves on the island before I came to be.
I guess they were able to purchase a home in Staten Island?
Well, my grandparents rented because that's just how the Brooklyn way was. That's what they knew. But my parents bought a house as soon as they got over to Staten Island, and yeah, we've been there pretty much ever since.
Okay. What, do you have siblings?
Yes, I have a younger sister.
Younger sister?
Yeah.
Is she athletic as inclined as you were? As you are?
Not that athletically, but she does some sports every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I mean, Staten Island has plenty of streets to run around with. Great parks.
Yeah, just a few great parks. There's a lot of wooded areas, public playgrounds. There's pretty much a public school every couple blocks. So, I mean, you can't really miss one to do some sports with your friends growing up and whatnot.
Okay. Now, in high school, did you get into the track club?
Well, I was originally going to go do basketball starting out in high school, which is a big thing for grammar school. That was what we were known for growing up. All I really did was play basketball, and it was mandatory to do cross country to go and try out for basketball, which is, you know, the usual thing for most high schools on Staten Island. And I went out, was doing pretty well in cross country, and my coach wound up talking to me before one of the basketball tryouts and was like, hey, you really have a knack for this thing, sort of world of running, and you might want to consider staying in and doing track and field full time. And I was like, maybe, you know, I went out for basketball anyway just to, you know, see what it was like. And right before I was about to find out the final team, I was just like, you know what, I'm doing pretty well in track and field. Let's go from there. Basketball will always be there on the side if I needed. So, but then I stayed with track and field for the rest of high school.
Great. The coaches, you know, keep an eye on you, and they saw talent in one direction.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Obviously, you know, almost 10 years now. Wow. It's scary thinking of that now, but yeah, 10 years later, here I am.
Which high school was it, by the way?
Monsignor Farrell High School.
Sounds like you guys had a good track club. Did you guys rank something?
Yeah, we were at one point nationally ranked top 20 by Nike in the United States as a high school. We were nationally ranked in a few different events. Definitely very highly ranked in the state and cities, well, the 5 boroughs anyway, for Catholic high school, even against public high schools too. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, and you kept up with your studies?
Yeah, just a little bit.
A little bit, okay.
Just enough.
Now, you need to make a decision for your college career. How did you go about that?
So that was the main reason I stuck it out with running. My coach pretty much was like, if you stay with running, there's a lot of money as far as scholarships goes for running compared to basketball and other sports. So deciding colleges was pretty difficult because, you know, you wanted to run competitively, but you also wanted to, you know, possibly get a good major and stuff like that, and which schools had those types of majors that you were interested in. It came down to 2 colleges. It was either compete at D1, Division I in NCAA, or get, you know, I believe it was like half scholarship at another one, but they were Division II. It took some time, multiple visits to see the coaching again, and just to go over a few things. But then I wound up going to St. Francis College in downtown Brooklyn, just to compete at the Division I level.
Okay, well, you're going back home. You know, your parents were Brooklyn.
Yeah, just a little bit. They were Bay Ridge, so it was a bit different parts of Brooklyn.
So you were there for 4 years, and
unfortunately, I was not. Due to some personal and athletic circumstances, I got hurt. There was a few other things going on in my life at that time that caused me to kind of phase out of running, unfortunately.
So you were 18?
Yeah, 18, just
Okay.
fresh out of high school, going into freshman year of college, and there's a few
So
things
what
going
happened
on.
after your first year?
I transferred out of St. Francis just because there was high pricing. The price was going to be increasing, and I was just in a bad place. So I just was like, you know what? Let me just take some time to work on my studies. If running comes back to me, it comes back to me.
Okay.
I think it would always have been a part of my life, and obviously it still is. But you know what? I don't want to worry about training, 365 days a
Okay,
year.
so you want to simplify your life, and where did you go?
I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice in Manhattan.
Right across the street.
Yep, right across the street.
That's where we are, right across the street, Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
Yeah, it was pretty easy finding the place since
We were here.
the
I think
past
we've
3
been here
years.
for quite a while.
See, I went to school and just went home, or went for runs eventually. But I started John Jay right the fall of 2012, right before Hurricane Sandy, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now, does John Jay have anything with running?
They only have a cross-country team. That was another thing that kind of caught my eye. It was only one season, so I didn't really have to worry about it too much. They're Division III school. The tuition wasn't too bad, so I didn't have to really worry about the price.
It's a city university, so you're a city boy, so
Yeah.
that helped.
Yeah, and it was easy to try and train while I worked part-time and went to school. And one of the coaches came up to me and was like, hey, we'd love to have you come out.
How did he know you were good?
He
runner?
was another Staten Island guy.
So he already knew your little history.
Yeah, someone must have whispered in his ear that I transferred to John Jay, and I guess he knew me from Staten Island racing and stuff like that. So I think he messaged me on Facebook, and he sold me on it. I showed up to a few practices, raced with them later that week, and it came back to me, like just the whole atmosphere, the runner's high, if you will.
Oh, okay. Well, it's good to be 20 years old when your body can recover and recoup.
The first race was hard. Being used to running 2.5 5K cross-country type races throughout the city, and then being bumped up to 8K in Van Cortlandt Park, it hit me hard in the back hills trying to get back into shape. So that was a good wake-up call to try and fuel the fire of a comeback. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And Van Cortlandt is a beautiful venue.
Amazing. I recommend it.
Oh, yeah. That's a beautiful park. You get to travel.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many years did you, I guess the 3 years you were there, or the 4 years?
I ran all 3 years. I was a bit behind because of the transferring. They didn't take all my credits, which was fine. So I graduated this past summer. I took
a degree in criminal justice?
Criminal justice, yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of career would lead you to eventually?
Been a big fan of trying to become a New York Police Department, New York police officer, or sometime maybe in the fire department as well. Whichever one would call me, I'd be totally fine in joining up in.
Okay. So it means you have applications, or you're something in place in there?
NYPD, I'm on the waiting list, yes.
Interesting. Well, that sounds like you'd be a shoo-in. You would be in good shape. But
maybe need to hit the weights a bit more.
Middle way. Well, let's not jump the gun here. So obviously you're working someplace else. So what's your career like now?
So I've been in pretty much customer service retail business for since I graduated high school. I'm currently working for the New York Roadrunners, which is a great fit for a passionate runner like myself that loves running around the city and competing. So.
Well, that's the premier running venue in the city. So which department are you in?
I'm in the runner services and representatives department, pretty much customer service, handling runners' questions, needs, phone calls, emails.
You're the guy that walks around. Ask me anything. I think that's the thing you see at Roadrunners.
Yeah, we have the information question marks, and then I help with the bib numbers and stuff like that too on the weekend races. Yeah.
Oh, you mean you're passing them out?
Yeah. So you'd scan your bib, your information, and we'd get your bib for the upcoming race that you're doing.
How long have you been doing that?
Almost a year now.
A year. Okay.
I started last January.
Last January. So you probably know some interesting characters there. I don't know if you know Kevin Matavo.
Of course, Kevin's a good friend of mine now of the Queens Distance Runners. Of course.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're a great group. Great group to emulate. But we'll talk about that when we get to the Oakwood portion. Is there any good stories and you can share with us? That happened while you're doing a customer service or road runner services? I
just completed the first working staff of the marathon, the New York City Marathon, and that was a crazy week in itself. Very, very busy. Phones were ringing off the hook. Emails were coming in like crazy. And then worked the Marathon Expo at the Jacob Javits Center. That was another fun, amazing experience. I was always a customer, But now I saw the other side of things and how things actually came to be, and like how they set up and worked it and everything, and the crazy hours people put in. I had no idea about. Definitely needed a day or two off after that to
You
recoup.
felt like you ran a marathon.
Yeah, I felt like it for sure. It was a lot of fun. It was great meeting a lot of people from different countries, asking their questions, answering the questions, excuse me, and just getting to hear different stories and backgrounds of what they do to train, where they're from, and yeah, their trip to New York and how they got to deciding to run the New York City Marathon with us, which is a great thing.
Is there a common thread among all these stories? Do you see, you know, what's the common thread, or what's the big differences? Anything like that?
The big difference mainly was different types of training and different like flight schedules and stuff like that, different lodging experiences throughout the 5 boroughs. People were asking, oh, do I stay in Staten Island because it starts there? And I'm just like, no, don't do that. It's actually horrible trying to get to the starting line if you're from Staten Island, if you stay on Staten Island, unless you live there and know the borough, like myself or you know fellow runners of Staten Island. So stay in Manhattan, please. Like it's actually easier to get to the starting line from there. But that'd probably be the common thing that people were more curious about, or why they couldn't walk across the Verrazano Bridge to get to the start if they're from Brooklyn or staying in Brooklyn.
That's a great idea.
And they're trying to get a bike path, so hopefully maybe eventually they would get a runner's path, but they definitely can't just walk across it.
Well, I know for years and years and years they've been looking at the feasibility of putting up a bike path. I don't know where the status is.
Not sure. I don't think it's anywhere near being actually put into place.
We, at the beginning of the show, we introduced you as one of the founding members of Oakwood. So tell us, what is Oakwood, and how's it named Oakwood, and so forth?
Well, my high school, Monsignor Farrell High School, was an all-boys high school. So during the summer, we used to race pretty much every weekend, cross-country to indoors to outdoors. We'd have maybe a week or two off in between the seasons, maybe an off weekend of racing. But if we had an off weekend of racing, either one of those seasons, we'd still trying to find a local road race to run just to, you know, get a nice tempo in, or just to be competitive, to see where we are at physically. And then over the summer, we'd do the same thing. There's a bunch of Staten Island local like racing throughout the summer. It's called the Triple Crown. It starts with Memorial Day, 4th of July, and then Labor Day weekend. That's like the 3 marquee races of Staten Island local competitive racing. So we would pretty much hit all 3 of those, and maybe a 5K every now and then, just to see where we were at as our summer's training was coming to an end, to prepare us for cross country.
So where you at, meaning ranking wise, you know, top 3, top 10, what's the, could you define that a little bit?
Back in high school, when we would do those types of races, we'd pretty much, you know, have the top varsity guys go out and go 1 through 10, or, you know, maybe have someone else in there in the mix of things. But we'd pretty much, they didn't like when we came out to those races too much, just because we would kind of win it all.
You win it all, okay.
Yeah.
That's when we were in high school, but were you called the Oakwood Soldiers?
We would still run under Farrell. We'd rock the Farrell racing uniforms, or a T-shirt, or just, you know, generic singlet of sorts that we had in the closet. Oakwood Soldiers came to be, I guess it was a little bit maybe my senior year or after my senior year. So if you compete at the national level, you can't wear your school uniform. It has to be something else. It could be just generic or something like that, and you can't have that name. So Monsignor Farrell couldn't be on your entry or anything like that. It needed to be something different. Don't know exactly why that rule has been, but we used to just call ourselves the Farrell Track Club, the Vera Fidelis Track Club, which was our Catholic high school's motto of the faithful man. And then eventually we're just like, you know what, let's get fun with this. You know, let's break the status quo of, like, you know, just having the school in a track club like everybody else. So we were like, oh, we're from Oakwood Heights, a part of Staten Island, and we've been taught a lot about the armed services and how they train by my coach, who is very, very passionate about that type of work. And we watch Navy SEALs training and everything, and he'd compare it to, if they can get through this, you could get through another repeat of a mile or another workout, because these men and women are going out there and getting the job done and having all this months of training to do that position. So you could get through another couple 400 repeats. So yeah, we went with Oakwood Soldiers Track Club at the next national meet, and then it just went with it. The ball just kept rolling for summer racing, and now it's a couple of years later, and it's an official track club in the racing community of the Five Boroughs. So,
Excellent.
come a long way.
Excellent. And I guess you've registered with the New York Roadrunners.
Yes, we are affiliated with New York Roadrunners and USATF, United States Track and Field.
Track and field. What does that mean? I mean, you're certified in certain courses, or?
So we could pretty much go to club championships with New York Roadrunners and indoor, outdoor, or cross country for the USATF racing series, kind of like a NIAC or a Central Park Track Club of New York City running.
Sometimes I'll see something that said, in order to qualify for prizes, you have to be a USATF member or something like that.
Yeah, so we're all pretty much all affiliated as a team and as a member with the USATF. Yeah.
Now, you said your coach. Now, this is in high school that showed you the soldier's way of doing things?
Yes. Tom Cuff.
Is he still there?
Unfortunately, he's not, no.
Okay, he moved on to...
He moved on to a bigger and better thing.
So I guess that's part of the soldier part, because you like their ethics and the way they trained.
Yeah, it's more of a dedication towards what they do for our country. We have a bunch of family and friends and a few old teammates that did go into armed service, which we definitely appreciate.
Sounds like you guys are really trained well to have an appreciation of the country.
Yes, of
course.
course.
We're going through rough times now. You sometimes wonder where we're going.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear Staten Island has some good men.
Yeah, of course.
And women too, of course.
Well, yeah, that's the goal.
Now, Monsignor Farrow High School, does it have any famous alumni? Famous actors or athletes?
If anybody watches Impractical Jokers on, I forgot the channel. It's True TV, I believe. They were four alumni. It's a comedy show. They do improv work throughout the Five Boroughs. I know. I think it's pretty famous. I see it the posters on on the subways every now and then. But I've watched it. They're pretty funny.
So you got a creative person out there.
Yeah.
Wow, many famous scientists, nuclear scientists.
We have a few politicians I know. Don't know the names off the top of my head.
National politicians or local?
I think it's more state and like city congressmen. So yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. And you said it was all boys.
Yeah, all boys high school.
God, I still have those. So when did you discover girls then?
In Staten Island, there's all boy high schools and all girl high schools. So I mean, it was
in terms of the Catholic school
Catholic
system?
schools, yeah, and then there would be co-ed Catholic high schools as well. Yeah.
All right. Oh, so I guess when they have meets, that's when you got to see the other side.
Yeah, and each, pretty sure for every all guy high school, they had a sister school that would be like kind of like what they would be. So like I know our sister school, I believe, was St. Joseph Hill. And then there was St. Peter's boys who had a St. Peter's girls, but they had two different campuses.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Now, is Oakwood co-ed, I presume?
At first we weren't, just because it was a more fun thing to do with the training group that we were in. But going forward, we have integrated women into our team, and we definitely are co-ed and welcome all to run with us and race with us.
Okay. Started out as a bunch of friends.
But
when did the Oakwood name come about? That's
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
And you now registered with Roadrunners.
Yes, that's been going for a couple months now.
Okay. So what's the advantage of being registered with Roadrunners? What does that give you?
It gets our name out there more than just some lettering on a tank top. If you finish in the top couple, 20 or 10, or you get team racing and team listings and stuff. So team results. So in the team racing community, you'll see a couple other names and then Oakwood, and it's just like, oh, who's that? Oh, it's that person that came a few seconds behind me, a few seconds in front of me. So it's like, oh, let me look out for them next time I race. And then you'll see the lettering Oakwood on our singlets. So it's just like, oh, that's who they are. So
and that's your color.
Not this one. It's more black and white. It's usually a black singlet with the white lettering Oakwood in big bold letters.
Okay, so what's the significance of this particular shirt that you're wearing today?
So it says Oakwood versus the world. So Staten Island is more of a forgotten borough, more or less like Queens.
Used to be. Queens
used to be, not as anymore.
Queens distance runners are putting it on a map.
Kevin's been putting it on the map.
Even has their own marathon.
Yeah, that's coming up soon. But it's more or less like a statement. Like, we're not just some forgotten borough that you have to get through to get to Jersey. and we're not affiliated with Jersey. We're actually in New York City. Just because you have to take a ferry or a bridge to get to us, and just because we don't have a subway line directly to us, doesn't mean we can't be in the mix of things going on in the New York City area, especially racing. So
obviously you're familiar with the Staten Island Athletic Club. They've been around for a long, long time. Very well respected. I've had members here. In fact, I was mentioning to someone, I've been doing this show for 6.5 years. I don't think I had anybody here in the first 6 years from Staten Island, and this year I think I've had at least 5.
Well, we're coming out. We're coming out.
You
out
guys
of our
are the new
borough.
queens.
Yeah, we're coming out in full force. You should have another 6 by the end of the year.
Maybe next year some
Next
more
year.
members.
Maybe double next year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you probably have friends in the Staten Island Athletic Club. So why Oakwood? I understand you guys are young and new. Why didn't you join the Staten Island Athletic Club? What is it? What is it that you saw that made you go a different route?
Running with John Jay, I was running a lot of, since we only had cross country, there was no indoor and outdoors, and a few buddies of mine wound up joining Central Park Track Club in the city, and because John Jay was right down the block from Central Park, I would be able to meet up with them, and I eventually joined them for a brief time, and I saw the racing community of New York City, and it was great atmosphere, but I would go out to races, and I didn't really see a lot of Staten Island runners coming out, so I questioned that. I was like, why is that? Because I would race on Staten Island a lot, and I would see we'd all be out there. Staten Island Athletic Club, Richmond Rockets, our guys and girls. So, I mean, it was a big racing community. We just never branched outside of our borough. So I would question that, and that was one of the things we wanted to just start anew, to be able to branch out of the borough and be competitive against Brooklyn, Queens, New York, Manhattan, Bronx, even the Jersey and stuff like that, because there's New Jersey, New York Track Club as well. They're a bit more competitive than us, but it was just a question of why can't we be involved in the racing community outside of our own borough. So it was more of a let's shake things up a bit and see what happens type of deal. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Central Park Track Club's been around a long time, well respected. They even send some of their runners to the Olympic trials.
Exactly. Yes. We just started out, so I mean we won't be at that level yet, but we want to. That's the goal, to be competitive locally, maybe even go nationally, because that's how we were in high school. We would compete locally and then compete nationally. So
I mentioned, because of all the activity on this show anyway with Staten Island, I sort of jokingly said Staten Island is the new Queens, because for some reason lots of stuff is going on with Queens in terms of running. It sounds like you're joining with your neighbors, the Staten Island Athletic Club, the Richmond Rockets, which I'm not familiar with, which is great. So does that mean you guys going to be working on having your own half marathon? Oh, you already have your half marathon with Roadrunners.
Yeah.
Your own marathon?
That's actually what I've been talking about with Kevin, because he does the Queens Marathon. So he's just like, dude, Staten Island would be a great spot for it, because we have a lot of land for it and a lot of local parks that would possibly be on board. Maybe not right now. It would still be in the works and as an idea for maybe push that to later, but it would definitely be an awesome thing to get.
You're right. You can't rush these things. You're just starting your vision and putting it together. And, running clubs, I love running clubs because they take on other responsibilities or take on other causes. For example, one of the big things that's going on now is women runners don't feel safe running by themselves.
Yeah.
And clubs are showing solidarity, are showing support by either running with them and stuff like that. I know you guys are still thinking about it. Are there causes like that, either supporting women runners or even starting an Achilles International, which every borough should have? I don't know if there is an Achilles International in Staten Island.
Not that I know of, no. But to your point, we are doing group training runs as much as we possibly can. A lot of our runners are still in college, high school level. We're very young as far as our average age grouping is, so a lot of people are still away at school, unfortunately. But the ones that are still on Staten Island, we do tend to try and get group runs together, so we don't all run alone. I mean, just to be on the safe side, but we do support and we are in solidarity with all the other running groups that have been very vocal about this very important issue that's been going on lately, especially lately.
the women running alone.
Yeah, I mean, everything that happened with the runner in Queens a few months ago, that's been a big wake-up call for, I think, the running community as a whole.
Oh, yeah. It's no easy answers because, women want to run alone. They don't want to be able to worry about their running like men do. But sometimes you have to think about solutions, and then maybe you find it. So it's good you guys are aware of it, because it sounds like a lot of you guys are millennials, and millennials will sometimes sort of get a bad rap.
We're not all bad. I promise.
So speaking of millennials, what is it that you think is a big misconception about your generation?
They think we're cocky and arrogant about, as far as sporting is concerned, like they think that we just show up and try and go at it and, try and start something every time we try and go over there. But our goal and our mission is to be friendly but also be competitive at the same time. So with Staten Island Athletic Club, we talk some smack and talk some trash about each other, but at the end of the day, we can still go out and, get dinner or get brunch after a race and, still have a good old time and still be a coherent but competitive group of people.
Oh, excellent. All right, so we're almost wrapping up here. So in terms of your career, so I guess you're waiting for that call from either the police department. Can't imagine it would take that long. Is it every 6 months they sort of refresh the recruits?
I've been on the waiting list for a bit over 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it actually does take some time.
Wow.
Fire department's even longer. That's about 4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I think you're still young, 23.
Just a little bit, yeah.
All right. Well, I think you're going to get in eventually. You're working with Roadrunners. Sounds like you couldn't run the New York City Marathon because you had too many things going on.
Plus, I'm not a marathoner yet, so the marathon bug has not hit me as of yet.
So what's your longest distance?
I've done a few half marathons, yeah.
Half marathons. What's your PR for the 800?
800 is 2 flat.
2 flat.
That's a little...
1,600. 1,500, I should say.
1,500, it was about 4:15, 4:18.
Have you done the Fifth Avenue Mile yet?
Yes, I have.
Oh, what's your best time there?
It's not that fast as the track, but I believe my Fifth Avenue Mile time was like 4:40, low 4:40.
4:40. Whoa,
yeah, faster on the track, so we'll see.
That's still darn good. Sub 5. Excellent. Well, listen, on that note, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Will.